Good morning, story trading folks. It's Friday, March 17th. We got another interesting show for you today. And we do have Vegas coming up at 9:15, so stay tuned for Vegas. I'm going to start with my banking watch list here. And look, you can see right away the two most distressed names people have been talking about in the news this week, the two banks needing saving, Credit Suisse and First Republic, and they're down 7%. And you can see 24% respectively here. I don't think the banking crisis is over. And I didn't need this price action this morning to tell you that. I've been saying that all week. And I'm just drawing from my experience of 2008, 2009, when Bear Stearns happened and everyone is like, oh, it's contained. This is a specific issue just to Bear Stearns. And I've heard that before. Okay. And I've lived through that environment where every rumor becomes true. I lived through that environment where every short attack on a stock precipitates in a real crisis. I've been there, and I have to go based on my experience. So I'm not convinced that this banking crisis is over. Now, you can see also with what were the names we gave you earlier this week, Monday morning, in this banking crisis, where's the money flowing to? It was gold, bonds, Bitcoin. Now, I got shaken out of call options on gold and bonds, GLD and TLT, after the ECB came out and made a 50-point basis increase. I was surprised at that. These are very interest rate sensitive. You can see TLT immediately went down after the ECB yesterday. But I did keep gold and Bitcoin in my IRA. And the reason I kept them was because they, I just think there's more shoes to drop in the banking crisis was my thinking there. And I'm like, all right, I'll get rid of the TLT because that's more interest rate sensitive. If the Fed's still going to be hawkish on interest rates, I don't know if TLT is still going to explode, but I want to keep gold and Bitcoin. And that's paying off this morning in a small way because I don't have call options, right? In my IRA, I'm playing it conservatively. After gold, I'm playing with PHYS, by the way. It's a gold physical spot trust. In the event of a true Armageddon, this might be a little bit safer than GLD. Gold and Bitcoin here confirming the fear. I think these are directly related. When you see Credit Suisse and First Republic down over here, now there may not be bank runs on these anymore. They have backstops, but what's going to happen to the common equity of these companies, right? How much saving are they going to need? How much dilution is going to happen because of that saving that's out? And I know right now there's not necessarily stories out there about that, but I am speculating down the road that they may need more saving. They may need to dilute, and these stocks can go in the gutter. So I'm staying away from stocks like Credit Suisse and First Republic. And then you look at the rest of the regional banks that there's no explicit promise yet that they're going to be saved. And that's Western Alliance, PacWest, Bank of Hawaii, Zion. Like all of these could theoretically have the shareholders wiped out. I assume if it happens, if there's a bank run on those stocks, the same thing is going to happen that happened with SVB Financial and Signature Bank, that the Fed will save the depositors, but the equity holders will get wiped out. So there's a lot of fear in the market, and that's why you're seeing gold and Bitcoin surge. Now, speaking of Bitcoin, I don't have the Bitcoin chart. We're using a BITO proxy, but I looked at the Bitcoin chart earlier on Coinbase, and it's similar. The technical indicators I have there are not as good as what we have here. So we're using BITO as a proxy, and you can see a breakout. You can see a clear breakout into this gap right here. You see this high over here was on BITO was 1579. We broke out of 1579, and that maybe kind of equates with 25,000 or so, 25,500 or so on the Bitcoin chart. And you get into this gap over here with the next resistance being up here at 1736. So a couple things. We're seeing a technical breakout in Bitcoin, but we're also seeing further validation. Listen, I put Bitcoin in my IRA for the first time ever Monday morning, and I didn't sell any. I think the Bitcoin story, the whole purpose of why Bitcoin was created was exactly for this reason, was exactly because of distrust with the financial system. And if the financial system breaks down one day, then what are you left with? And that's the reason for Bitcoin. I don't think the financial system will break down one day. But I think that it's all about sentiment, right? It's all about sentiment and perception and where are people willing to move their money towards. And now that they saw that Bitcoin held up and did extremely well in the banking crisis on Monday, now you see people moving their money into Bitcoin in a consistent kind of way. Man, I'm a Bitcoin bull for like the first time ever. I played Bitcoin back in that big original run a couple, 2-3 Thanksgivings ago when it ran from like 5,000 to 25,000. Like I got into that with everyone else, but I wasn't really a Bitcoin believer. I was just playing the hype. Now I'm actually a Bitcoin believer because of the events of this week. So Bitcoin, gold, getting a bid. People still worried about the banks. That's the story for today. And so let's go into some individual stocks and trading opportunities, perhaps based on that. So let's switch to a different watch list here. And I do want to talk about a Bitcoin opportunity. But before we do that, QQQ and SPY. Look, I cannot make sense out of QQQ this morning. Now, Monday morning, we had probably the best show of the year. And I had put a lot of hours of work into looking at all the stocks that we covered in the last few months based on fundamentals, catalysts, technicals, and sentiment. And we went back and showed you the top ones. And what was the purpose of that? I said, look, we just had a bank scare this past week. Indices have been crushed. But take a look at what stocks had relative strength. Take a look at what stocks are still above key moving averages after great fundamental news. And we came up with that list that included Microsoft, Meta, CrowdStrike, NVIDIA, PanW, Dix, YXT, Laser, LNTH, Assure Software, MTW. Came up with this whole list right here. And man, did they blow up this week. I didn't like think they would, because I didn't think they'd blow up right away, because I didn't think the banking crisis is over. So I'm a little perplexed at the timing, but I did say these stocks are probably good for like your IRA for a long-term positioning. And so I can't take credit for a prediction that they'd blow up this week. I really am surprised that they blew up this week. I really am, especially with the ECB raising by 50 bips. This gigantic flow of money into big cap tech really surprised me. But I did end up yesterday morning when I saw the strength in QQQ and QQQ breaking up above the 20 DMA. When I saw that, I did get back into Microsoft yesterday morning in my IRA. I did add for the first time some of these stocks like CrowdStrike. I added LNTH for the first time in the morning, and that broke out. That worked out well. I actually added Clearfield from our list, but for a different reason, because that's near a support level, near the 200-week moving average. So I didn't play it perfectly because I kind of TLT and gold, I was like trying to trade options with that, and I got shaken out yesterday morning with the ECB move. That didn't work out well, but man, did we have a list of awesome stocks that are now increasingly sitting in my IRA as a part of my IRA, and I'm happy to be shifting into these higher quality names in my IRA. And thanks to this, looking at the news every morning, looking at the catalysts, interpreting how that's going to impact sentiment, interpreting how that's going to impact fundamentals. And then when you look back, all of a sudden you have a list of awesome stocks. And that process just worked out incredibly this week. Now, look, I don't know where QQQ and SPY is going to go from here. All I can tell you is QQQ has a much nicer chart than the SPY. By the way, it's triple witching Friday, a big options expiration day. There can be extreme volatility today. I don't like the SPY chart. Energy is down, predicting recession. Financials are down, big components in SPY. So it just perplexes me. How is it that they're laser targeting all this big money flow? I don't know. Is it a flight to safety? Is that what it is? Is it long-term inflation worry? So let's pile our money into big cap tech. I don't know what's causing this. I don't necessarily trust the move in the short term, but in the long term, those stocks are great companies. Okay, let's get into some specific stocks. We had a re-rating play in FedEx last night. It was 221 at the time. These guys beat by a big margin. They gave guidance, which beat by a big margin. Don't have time. It's 9:08. Vegas is coming in 7 minutes. I don't have time to go through the math or even find it here. I mean, you can look at this. 13 to 14, guidance 2023, raise to 1460 to 1520. There's the math, right? So what I did, I took the midpoints of both. I took the closing price yesterday on FedEx, applied it's a 10% beat from a 10% increase in guidance. Applied the 10% to the closing price yesterday on FedEx. This is all based on efficient market theory. And we came up with the target price of 224. And we did say that's conservative and it could beat. Why could it beat 224? Because the Q1 beat was a 20% beat, much bigger than a 10% beat. And those are the headlines everyone sees. So 224 was a really modest target from 221. So if you did that and got $3 out of FedEx, great. 221 to 224. Now, if you wanted to be more aggressive, instead of taking the midpoints, you could take you can take the low end of the previous guidance and the high end of the new guidance, and you can apply that as a magnitude of the beat on the guidance. And what do you get? You get 235. So the stock is trading in between those calculated levels, 224 and 235. I'm not going to take a further trade in it today. The low risk trade was taking it when it was below 224 and after hours yesterday and riding it up to 224. So that's the story with FedEx. Microsoft, man, has really broken out on this ChatGPT. And look at this. This is broken out of key levels. I really think Microsoft is headed to 300 plus. They did have a price target increase this morning, by the way. by Mizuho, I think it was, to 315. Yeah, Mizuho, 300 to 315. But this chart to me looks like it's heading to 300 RSI 69. How it gets there in this environment, I don't know. But I don't know how it blew up in this environment either. Like, maybe you just got to look at individual charts. It looks like there is definitely divergence going on with money flow. So this one looks like 300 is in the cards, and it's probably because of ChatGPT 4 and expectations of how much market share that Bing can take away from Google. I think that's the storyline. Obviously, Microsoft has a very tiny sliver of market share. There's a huge, gigantic opportunity for Microsoft, and that's why you're seeing it there. I continue to hold that stock in my IRA. Unfortunately, I sold my calls too early yesterday morning, but that's the way it goes. Okay. BIDU had some big news. Probably Vegas is going to talk about this later. So it is on the radar just to bring Vegas into it. Ride sharing, auto driving cars in China, the first place in the whole world is going to be BIDU doing this in 3 of the largest Chinese cities. I bet you Vegas saw something to say about that. And Bitcoin, again, I said Bitcoin's breaking out. How can we play this as far as a day trade today or something? Mara has already been on a tear. Riot has already been on a tear. Now, Mara, earlier this week, I gave you guys a 200 DMA price target, at least in one of the chat rooms. Someone asked about it. So there you can see 896 or so, I think, is in play. And I already gave you that. Why would it happen? Because of Bitcoin, right? And I gave you the target on Bitcoin where I think that could go up here. Again, reviewing that 1717. But look, if you don't want to chase Mara or you don't want to chase Riot, right? What can we, are there any laggards? I always like to look at laggards or sympathy plays. So let's take a look at crypto list I have here. All right, here we go. Cryptos. There we go. Bitcoin, another ETF, GBTC, Mara, Riot. There they are. All right. I zeroed in on BTB. Why? Because I'm recently familiar with BTB. That's the truth. All these other stocks, I haven't looked at these in a long time. I don't know the status of any of these stocks. But BTB, we listened to management on YouTube call. We know they're a Bitcoin company. We know they're trying to ride the coattails of GNS on trying to snuff out naked shorts. And we know they didn't do a good job. And I wasn't impressed with management at all on the YouTube stream, which is why I got out. But look at this. They had recent news on February 24th. This is an operating company. They are mining Bitcoin, and they're having guided. They mined in 1 month $370,000 worth of Bitcoin at those current prices, and they're guiding for through June 30th. They'll mine a 1.8 million. The market cap here is small, 14 million. Okay, so interesting, right? But this is even more interesting. What did I just show you? I showed you that Bitcoin broke out. But did this break out yet? No. Is it close to breaking out? Yes. It's right in the 20 DMA. So that's how I like to look at it. Rather than looking at absolute values of what's a company's worth, I'm looking at the overall trend. Now, Mara, Riot have broken out. Bitcoin is headed to whatever level it is. But this one didn't break out, but it's on the cusp of breaking out right here. I like this as a trade for today. I don't like the company. I don't like management. So not something I'm going to hold really. But for today, I think there's a chance this breaks out and could possibly have a significant move to 180 to $2. Something like that is possibly in the card. Now, it really also does depend how Bitcoin does the rest of the day. So you got to watch that. All right. So that's a trade idea for you. BTB. All right. Let's go back to our main list over here. Microsoft BIDU. Bitcoin, Mara. Okay, BTB. Want to let you know KODK had earnings, and it was a pretty good earnings report. My first instinct was like, yeah, let's get back into it. Why? Because I did a lot of research in this company, and I think there's something there. But then I'm like, you know what? We have so many other better ideas with bigger cap companies that have sentiment going for them, which KODK doesn't have right now, which has money flow going for them above key moving averages. Like, why mess with a stock like KODK? And it wasn't like such an impressive report. They just didn't lose money, right? They had revenue growth sequentially, great. They had revenue growth year over year, great, right? They were flat in cash flow for the quarter. Okay, that's nice. So the stock's not going to 1. Okay, but is it breaking out? Maybe not yet. Okay, so it's on watch. So I decided against recommending this as a story trade idea just because we have so many other better ideas that are going on. Okay, XXII almost broke out yesterday. I noted this. I made a comment that it was rip-roaring in one of our chat rooms here. And relatively speaking, look, it wiped out a lot of the losses of last week right against the 20 DMA. And it did it right after an interview with the CEO, post-home MACD flip. So I thought maybe this move is something related to the CEO interview. And if it breaks out of this level, you can move over at 98 cents. We'll see on that, but really we're waiting for 7-Eleven news to hit and get a big move on XXII after that. LLAP earnings we have on Tuesday. Been doing a ton of research, guys. I may have to do a special show sometime before Tuesday just on all the LLAP research we did recently. Like, we know this situation inside and out right now. I still think that there's a chance for an event anticipation run towards 225. The conference call is 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, and I think you'll see some FOMO ahead of that report. So LLAP on watch. ARLO, I got a bad entry on that yesterday, so I may have to cut my losses today, but really good company as well, right? Good fundamentals at this point, good technicals above the 200 DMA, maybe something that will hold up, something you can hold longer term. But if you're like day trading it, hoping for a big move today, it might not be today with the markets heading back down. And with that, we're going to bring on our friend Vegas for Friday Vegas. What are we going on with? Vegas Fridays. Here we go. Welcome. It's Vegas Fridays.
Yeah, it's fun Friday for me. So hopefully you guys will have some fun today in the markets. Hope you guys had a great week. Had a fun week this week, actually, with NVIDIA. Fabulous.
It was a wild week.
NVIDIA.
We had NVIDIA on our list Monday morning for the week. We had Microsoft, CrowdStrike, Meta, NVIDIA was one of them, up there 1.85%. What's on your radar for today?
Well, I will say I'm still, in terms of I still have NVIDIA for a swing trade. I still have AMD for a swing trade. I still have Meta for a swing trade. So I am all in all these trades right now. But, cool. For people that like to day trade, definitely, or you're not even in NVIDIA, if it can get over 259.20, which it is right now, I would take a position in NVIDIA. I'm looking this to head towards 265 today on NVIDIA.
Oh, wow.
So let's see if it can do it. And another top watch, my second pick of the day is going to be AMD, bullish right here, even it's at 97.35 right now. Looking for AMD to test the 100 level today. And if it breaks 100, okay, AMD, watch out, because buyers will step in and we're going to look to go towards 101.77. So definitely if you watch AMD, it's ready to make a move here. So like an AMD and NVIDIA, top two picks. Nice. Smashing earnings. Did you see the smashing earnings on Federal Express?
Yep, we talked about it yesterday. We calculated a quick re-rating. 224 was our target when it was 220 last night based on our math. It exceeded that. Now 226. I don't know. I think there's a range based on the guidance they provided. I think 224 to 235 is kind of like the fair.
Yeah, I think 235 is the most I can see here on this stock. I mean, if this can get over 228.94 or over 229, you'll see 235. So we're pretty much in line with that one. Yep. So we'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, what a move! I think a lot of people were thinking this stock would be tanking today, because when I look at the options flow, looks like a lot of put flow on FedEx, and meanwhile, call flow is pretty cheap. So obviously they'll be inflated this morning because the earnings is just so damn good.
Let me ask you something, Vegas. You said you're still in NVIDIA, AMD. I was really bullish on a lot of these big cap techs before Silicon Valley Bank went bust.
Me too.
And then right, and I was loaded up actually on call options in Microsoft and on Google. I got shaken out Monday, Tuesday with the banking crisis, and I missed out on this whole big move. Did you not get shaken out of those?
No,
big
not
cap
at all.
stocks?
Nah.
Wow. Tell me how. Tell me how. I want to understand.
So first of all, I personally didn't get shaken out, but I talked one of my friends who does a lot of analysis in the market. I mean, he's really damn good, and he said to me to ignore the shakeout. He goes, "This is load the boat." And he does a lot of analysis in the markets, and he just gave me that confidence as well to don't get shaken out. This is, just hold your positions with confidence. So he gave me that boost. But the other thing too, I was thinking, think about common sense. When there's panic in the market, everyone's going to be shaken out, because that's what sometimes they want to do. People are scared. So normal, retail traders, we're get scared sometimes and just oh my God, it's pulling back. Let me get out. I don't want to lose my capital, which is, risk management is really important. But at the same time, like I was just, you know, taking things one day at a time. I'm not trying to predict, oh my gosh, tomorrow, next week. I'm just like, you know what, day to day. And I mean, I have to say this week's been a fantastic week. Everyone's been making great money this week. Even the day traders have been making so much money this week, because we just stay focused on what is the mover, what's the runner, and stay in the like the trend of certain charts. Like, so for example, I'll give you an example. So Friday night, I was lying in my bed and I was like, wow, what a crazy day with that SIVB last a week ago from today. And I was like, this is really crazy because I'm still in meta trade and I'm in a red. I'm in a red right now on Meta. This is like last Friday. And also I was like looking at Apple and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm red on Apple too. So let me take a look at these charts because when I looked at them during the day, they were still solid. So I
Yep.
recharted them at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, and then I sent a message to the room and I said, listen, as crazy as this is gonna sound, I said, I want you to know that I just charted Meta because a lot of people were in Meta swing with me. So they're probably thinking, oh my God, what a crappy trade. Now I'm in the red. So I wanted to give them some confidence that this chart is intact. And
Yep.
regardless of the crazy volatility that's happened, just ignore that right now because Meta chart is not breaking down. It's got a lot of strength, and you can
Mhm.
expect a move on this chart in the coming days. And you know what?
That's the
I gotta
part.
tell you, I probably
Vegas,
save
you gotta
people
connect
thousands
you
of
gotta
dollars.
connect that part to me because I did, and sorry to take your time, this is important. I did the same
Mm,
analysis you did over the weekend, and I came up with very strong charts, and I had a show Monday morning on Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, CrowdStrike,
mhm,
and I'm like, these are in solid uptrends, and
mhm.
these are the stocks you wanna own. This is a caveat. This is where I differed from you, and maybe I made a mistake. I'm like, these are the stocks you wanna own when the banking crisis is over, right? I'm like, and I don't know when that's gonna be. I don't know when these are going to take off. They're good for your IRA, but as far as short term, in the next few days, when I'm in options that are expiring that week and the next month, I was like, I don't have visibility to know when it's going to bounce. And I got out, I got shaken out. How did he have confidence that it would actually bounce just in the next few days?
Because I personally, like, I wasn't thinking like, well, you know, the banking crisis, you know, it's like because that's the fear, right? So you're thinking, I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, like, you're thinking to yourself, you know, this banking crisis is going to make me just not really hang on to this trade right now because you're thinking like maybe tomorrow, the next day, there could be some more weakness in the market because you're predicting or anticipating weakness because of what you see of or hearing about the banking crisis where I just ignored it all and I just looked at the weekly chart. I'm like, let the chart talk to me, not the damn news. I shut off the news. I don't read the social media stuff. And I just look at the chart and I go, you know what? The chart is going to tell me what to do. If this breaks below this level here, I will have to get out of this trade. So I pay attention
That's a
to the
good point. If
21
it
day.
breaks below the level,
Yeah.
it is hard with options though. I got to tell you because you got
Well, no,
time
I
working
with the
against you.
option, well, that's what I'm trying to say. So this is why I told my team on Friday night in the middle of the night, I wanted to give them some reassurance not to lose sleep on the weekend, you know, because some people get stressed with the options and they get stressed with their trades and they're thinking about it all weekend. Oh my God, I'm going to lose money. So I gave them confidence. I said, listen, guys, I just recharted this. I know it's crazy, but just right now, the chart's telling me hold the trade. And unless it goes under this level here, trades in play. I said, it's to your advantage to still hold. If you feel, I said, the other thing too, you have to feel comfortable, right? Remember, as a trader, you have to be comfortable holding your trades because if you're nervous because it's going to go down or you're in the red and you're afraid to take losses, then obviously you're going to close the trade, just take a loss. But the thing is, you're taking the loss unnecessarily. If you actually zoom out, we talk about this a lot, you need to zoom out. Forget about one day. One day is not going to make a market. You got to zoom out and look at the
Yep.
big picture. What does the weekly chart look like? If the weekly chart's good, then you hold the trade. And that's what I did. I ignored what happened during the day and I just looked at the weekly chart, and that gave me confidence too to hold my trade. So, you know, don't forget, like, I'm sharing my thoughts with my room too. So I'm telling them I'm still holding, but I'm explaining why. It's not like I'm holding because I want to be right. It's not about being right. If I'm wrong, we don't have egos here. If we're wrong, I admit it. I take a loss and I move on, just like what you do. But when the chart's telling me, oh, this is great. Just, hold the trend is holding. And they say trend is your friend. The trend on the chart was telling me, let's stick together. Don't leave me. Like, we talk about stocks too, like date them and leave them. So the chart was like, you know what, we're still getting along quite well. We're still on good terms with Meta. And you know what, Meta, this weekly chart, gorgeous. I'd still take Meta right now. Like, even though it pulled back a little from yesterday's high, I would take a swing trade. Absolutely take a swing trade on Meta.
Yeah, Meta, I've been saying swing target. I'm a big believer in major moving averages. So Meta, I've been saying the target here is 229. I guess the difference is you are an options trader. You've honed this skill really good. When I try to do options, I don't have as much experience as you. But if I get a pullback because time's working against me and I don't know exactly when it's going to make that move to 229, I'm like, I'm out of here, right? So as far as equity, common shares, a little easier for me, but it's definitely a special skill to be able to have those guts to hold, even though it's holding that 20 DMA, right? It was holding the key levels, but how do you know it's going to fly above it, especially if you have out of the money call options? I know you tried to explain it here, but I think it takes a lot of experience.
You have to also trust the trade. You have to trust the trade too. Like, don't forget, I follow the money flow as well. And I've been following Meta for quite some time, actually for over 2 weeks. And the dark pool money flow on Meta has been really powerful. And what I was noticing here also on Meta in particular is that every time the stock was pulling back, there was some consolidation on the actual stock. And then what was happening is that there was an increase in dark pool prints as the stock was pulling back. And then what would happen is it would pull back, increase in dark pool prints because they were buying the dips. It would then consolidate, and then the stock would eventually pop to the upside. So, you could see what happened yesterday. Yesterday we were we were still in Meta, 210 calls, and let me tell you, I got those for cheap, like 10 cents, 9 cents, and I was waiting for Meta to make that move, and it all day kept jerking me around, and I'm like, guys, market's ripping and Meta's just chilling. I go, what the hell's going on with Meta? It's just sitting here. So I just explained to them what's going on, and you saw what happened at the close. 345, they ran Meta, right? Yep. So that was a great way to end the day. Those contracts went from 9 cents to 90 cents. That was a beautiful move. So that was a great trade.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We're coming up against opening, so we got to go.
Yeah,
I would love to talk to you about Bitcoin and BIDU, but we don't have time.
Good. Yeah.
NVIDIA,
have a great weekend.
NVIDIA AMD, your top 2 picks. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, guys. See you soon. Yep. Bye.
And you can follow Vegas at I Love Stocks 1 on Twitter. And we'll see you for a post-market wrap at about 2 p.m. today. And we're out of here. We'll see you soon.